Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to be doing is just going over some reasons for why we had that incident where Siraj was harassing Bob. And the main complaint I kept hearing from some people is, why weren't the Muslims stopping Siraj? So what we're going to do is just go into the reasons for why. And so if we start with, so this is a video from the incident, and this is Soko's version, as you can see. And so now for the reasoning about why the Muslims allowed Siraj to continue to harass well, it's essentially Bob is the one he was after, because notice that Siraj isn't harassing any other Christians specifically. Well, the only other one he's harassing is, of course, is Captain Bloodfire, this guy here. So these are the only two he harasses, and you'll find out the reason why. So let's go through this. So if you go to the first one, this is good old Islam QA. And so this is talking about something that you hear about a lot, especially if you listen to someone called, Lloyd de Jong, and it's to do with commanding the right and forbidding the wrong. This is something that Muslims have to do. And so when we read here, so I mean, these links, I'll put them in the description, but I'm just going to go to the important part. And so this is just talking about saying how there has to be, so this verse from the Quran says, let there be a group of you, let there be a group of you who call to good, commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, for those are the successful. So of course, the ones who are actually doing this, they're the successful ones. And people, yeah, so, right. Yeah, so this is an example from some hadith that this scholar's mentioning, and usually they give the name. So this is answered by Sheikh Nuhami Keller, who's a Sunny Path Academy teacher. So this Sheikh is going to give the answer. So this hadith is official. It doesn't even have to give the actual reference for the hadith, because he's a Sheikh. So that's it. So it says here, so you got those who keep within Allah's limits and those who transgress them or allow them to be compromised may be compared to people on a ship. So they allow them to be compromised. That's the important bit. And it says, some must stay below deck in the hardest place while others get passage above. When those below need water, they pass through those on the upper deck, injuring and annoying them until those below reflect. If we were able to stave a hole in the hull, we could get water without troubling those above. So what he's saying is, if the people who are above deck leave the ones below to punch a hole in the ship, then everyone will be destroyed. So what he's saying is that there are certain people who are doing the true Islam, and he's saying that those people are necessary in order to stop the whole ship from sinking. So put worse in charge of you. Yeah, that's true. So now there's an important part I'm just trying to get to. So this is going to be explained about how, because this is from this scholar is just he's getting this from one of their books of jurisprudence, where he explains about how the way Muslims should behave when it comes to righting wrongs, essentially. Right, so here we go. So the third degree of severity is to prohibit the act by admonition, advice, and making the other fear Allah. So, yeah, this is where Siraj starts to come in. And now censuring with hard words, yeah. So you're wondering why is Siraj so rude? Well, guess what? It's actually in something that the scholars have tell them to do. So the fourth degree of severity consists of reviling the person and bearing down on them with sharp, harsh words. Oh, let's listen to that. So you hear that? Nice harsh words from Siraj there. Let's see if we can find some more examples. Yeah, so see, so you see those nice harsh words from Siraj, you know. So bearing down on him, so that's what Siraj is doing. He's bearing down on them with sharp, harsh words. One does not resort to this degree unless one is unable to prevent the person by politeness. So there you go. So Siraj obviously started off polite at the beginning, but what's happening now? See, so the polite is finished. So Siraj knows he's on to the next stage, where with Bloodfire and Bob, politeness doesn't work. So now Siraj has to use sharp, harsh words. And yes, I know, this is talking to Muslims. But here's the thing. You find out where the kuffar part comes later, but this is how Muslims are supposed to do. This determines how a Muslim behaves in regard to how they try to right what they see as wrong. So it says, reviling him does not mean vulgarity and lies, but rather saying, you degenerate, you idiot, you ignoramus. Yeah, that's what Siraj is doing. Now, righting the wrong by hand, now, that obviously is, Siraj is not at that stage. Well, he mostly isn't, but no, he's not, because yeah, so all of these are the end parts, but this isn't where we're trying to go to. Command is to depend less on others and eliminate. Right, so this is the other thing, is that notice that Siraj is doing this. He's not asking anyone whether he should do it. So he's not depending on other people to go after Bob and Bloodfire. So he's doing this himself. And of course people are talking to him. And that's what politeness is obligatory. Speaking. Yeah, so but this is gentle words. You'll find that this is just Muslims. But anyway, let's carry on to the next one. So this is just ruling on jihad. So Islam QA, they're going to tell you about, it says, in this day and age, is jihad fard on every able-bodied man? And so this answer, it says, jihad of everyone, so it says, jihad is of various kinds, some of which are obligatory upon everyone who is accountable, and some are obligatory upon the community as a whole. If some people undertake them, then the rest are relieved of the obligation, and some kinds of jihad are mushtahab. So you see, if some people undertake them, i.e. Siraj, the rest are relieved of the obligation. So Siraj is, as long as one person, i.e. Siraj, is doing the harassing, the other Muslims don't have to do it. They can leave him. So the fact he's doing it is actually good for them, because it means they can relax more. So now, jihad al-nafs and jihad al-shaitan are obligatory upon everyone who is accountable. Jihad against the munafiqeen, hypocrites, kafirs, Bob and Bloodfire, and leaders of oppression and innovation is obligatory upon the community as a whole. So there you have it. So Muslims should be doing jihad against Bob and Bloodfire as a whole. That's what they should be doing. Now, physical jihad, i.e. fighting against the kafirs, may become an individual obligation upon everyone who is able to do it in certain circumstances, which will be described below. So now I'm not going to go through all of this. So jihad al-nafs, that's the one Muslims love to talk about, is how you're supposed to strive in the way you do things to help yourself. So now, jihad against the shaitan is warding off the doubts that he stirs up to undermine faith, striving against him to ward off the corrupt desires that he provokes. So, we made children. Alright, so I don't want to go through, because this isn't supposed to be some long thing where I'm preaching forever. I just want to get to the important bit. Right. So the idea of waging physical jihad against the kafirs went through a number of stages depending on the state in which the Muslim Ummah was. And he does mention this Al-Qayyim, because this is what I think it's one of Taymiyyah's students. So let's keep going. Just want to try and get the... So the ruling on physical jihad against the kafirs is that this is an obligation on the community as a whole. So jihad is an obligation upon the community. If some people undertake it, the rest are relieved of the obligation. So as long as the Islamic State are doing their fighting and cutting off heads, etc., and good old Siraj is here doing their insulting and etc., that means the rest of the community is getting a let-off. But someone has to do it. That's the important bit. So here we go. But then initially the command is addressed to all of them, as in the case of injury. But then in the case of fard, the obligation is dropped if enough of the people undertake to do it. Unlike the case of fard, where the obligation is not dropped if someone else does it. Jihad is a fard kafayan, according to the majority of scholars. So this is talking about how... Yeah, so look what it says here. The Muslims in Saudi Arabia, Africa, North Africa, and elsewhere are obliged to do their uttermost. And if there is a jihad in one country, the surrounding countries should hasten to help them. The closest and the next closest. If one or two states or three or more manage to fulfill the obligation, then the rest are freed of responsibility. They deserve to be supported, and it is obligatory to help them against their enemies because they are oppressed. Allah has enjoined jihad upon all Muslims, and they must fight against the enemies of Allah until their brothers are victorious. So yeah, that's what Siraj is doing. He's there doing the fight against the... But there's a reason why he's chosen Bob and Bloodfire, but we'll get to that next, as long as I don't take too long. Right. So this is physical fighting. So what this particular answer is just showing the different ways in which physical fighting or different types of jihad can happen. So now, when you get more into the reason of why did Siraj target Bob and Bloodfire. So this is more to do with the reason of why he chose those two people. And that is, it is essential to respond to those who defame the Prophet. And so the question is, there is no one among us who is unaware of what the Christians say defaming the Prophet. We are not unaware either of the gira, protective jealousy of the young men of the Muslim Ummah towards their religion and their Prophet. So this is where Siraj comes in, because remember it said young men. And it says, it is permissible to respond to those who defame the Prophet by insulting the speaker, knowing that, no, he's asking, sorry, this is a question. Is it permissible to respond to those who defame the Prophet by insulting the speaker, knowing that I insulted one of them and some of my relatives advised me not to do that again, because it will make them defame and mock him even more, so their sin will be on me? So this Muslim obviously was upset because some people were insulting their Prophet, i.e. Bloodfire and Bob, because we know these are two people who love to do it on so-called films and other places. So as we see here, now the scholars are going to reply. So it says, defaming the Prophet is a kind of kufr. If that is done by a Muslim, then it is apostasy on his part. And the authorities have to defend the cause of Allah and his messenger by executing the one who defamed him. So there you go, executing. That's the punishment. If the one who defamed him repents openly and is sincere, that will benefit him before Allah, although his repentance does not waive the punishment for defaming the Prophet, which is execution. So there you have it. If a Muslim defames their Prophet, calls him names or whatever, they are to be executed with no repentance. It's as simple as that. So let's keep going. So now, if the person who defames him is a non-Muslim living under a treaty with the Muslim state, then this is a violation of the treaty and he must be executed. So there you go. So if a non-Muslim lives in a Muslim country, what will happen to them? executed. So that's simple as that. There's no questions there. But that should be left to the authorities, or of course, if it's in Pakistan, the mob. And so it says here, if a Muslim hears a Christian or anyone else defaming the Prophet, he has to denounce him in strong terms. It is permissible to insult that person because he's the one who started it. So now you find out why Siraaj is getting upset. Because we've heard Bob say it plenty of times. And of course, in this video, I think in this video, Bloodfire is actually doing it as well. So this is the main reason why Siraaj is harassing them. And that's because of this. And of course, Siraaj can't carry out the, had punishment. So as it says here, if there is no one who can carry out the had punishment of Allah and stand up for the messenger, i.e. the other Muslims, then the Muslim has to do whatever he can, so long as that will not lead to further mischief and harm against other people. So Siraaj is doing his best, essentially, because he's got to get out there, fight. He's doing the insults. Look, permissible to insult the person, so Siraaj is doing that. So hopefully this will show anyone who watches this video why he's like that. Because essentially this scholar is saying this is how things should be done. And I think you got the scholar's name here, is it? I'm not sure. Yeah, no, it doesn't have his name. I thought it did. I'm sure he did, actually. Alright, yeah, here we go. So this is from Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Barak. So this is a sheikh you have to go and speak to if you disagree with anything that is written here. So if any Muslim says, no, that's not true, then I'm sorry, this sheikh is going to put them in their place. So now the next one is... so this is concerning sort of, mockery of their prophet as well. Now this one is a bit lame. So this guy just waffles a load of nonsense because he's not as severe as the other one. But I just there's something he says at the bottom. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention something in this one. Something important at the end. It says here, this is talking about this verse that David Wood loves to use, where it says, and insult not those whom they worship besides Allah, lest they insult Allah wrongfully without knowledge. Now, this scholar is going to give you the answer for this. And he says, this does not apply in cases where they defame Allah and His Messenger. First, rather, what is meant is that it is forbidden to insult the gods of the mushrikeen first, lest they insult Allah out of ignorance and enmity on their part. But if they insult Allah and His Messenger first, then we must... Oh, actually, I just realized something strange. They say, you got Allah here and His Messenger. Notice, His Messenger has peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. But notice Allah has nothing. So you can see who's more important, isn't it? So first, then we must respond and punish them so as to deter them from their kufr and enmity. If we leave the kuffar and atheists to say whatever they want without denouncing it or punishing them, great mischief will result, which is something that these kuffar love. No attention should be paid to the one who says that insulting or responding to insults will make him more stubborn. The Muslim has to have a sense of protective jealousy and get angry for the sake of Allah and His Messenger. Whoever hears the Prophet being insulted and does not feel any protective jealousy or get angry is not a true believer. We seek refuge with Allah from humility, kufr, and obeying the shaitan. So notice, Siraaj doesn't want to be an unbeliever, so he makes sure to jump on Bob and Bloodfire because they've publicly insulted his prophet on video. So he's got a full 100% reason to be harassing them, being rude to them, saying things to them. Of course, he can't lay hands on them because then that would be a problem. And the scholars, even old Sheikh Abdul Rahman would be unhappy, would be unhappy if Siraaj actually laid hands on anyone. But as long as he just insults, that's fine. That's how it is in Islam. So now back to this boring scholar. So all of this is just mostly rubbish, but there's something he says at the end, which is relevant. I mean, I tried to read through what he's saying, but this guy is just this guy's a bit of a sub-story guy, so he's a bit annoying to read. But he says something here at the end. Oh, here we go. So, this warring sheikh, so at the end, here's what he says. He says, we should strive to call these people, for although we look at them through the lens of hatred and resentment, we also look at them with compassion, for soon they will die and will be among the people of hell. If they die in this state, so we should call them to Islam and salvation out of mercy and compassion towards them. So if you ever wonder why some Muslims seem to be very unhappy, because it says we look at them through a lens of hatred. So here's the important thing. If you have a bunch of people who like hating others, they're going to become Muslims. Now, if you have a bunch of people who want to show love to people, they'll become Christians. And that's simply how it works. So haters will always prefer to be Muslims, simply because that's how, these scholars seem to be. They're encouraging people to hate. So now, finally, I haven't been talking, I thought I was talking for ages, but now let's get to the last one. And I'm not even sure why I put this one up, but I'm just going to, alright, forbidding the evil. Yeah, so whoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. And if he's not able to do so, then let him change it with his tongue. If he's not able to do so, then with his heart, and that is the weakest of faith. Anyway, hopefully what I've just shown you here, especially when it comes to the hatred, and the fact that what it says here about what Muslims should do to people that insult their prophet, you'll understand now why the Muslims weren't stopping him, because they can't. How can they stop someone who's doing jihad? And if they stop him, then they're going to be in trouble. So they have to let him carry on. And there's something I just wanted to show you with regards to these videos. So
Sister, don't let him exclude me from this conversation. Bye.
Right, what I'm trying to show you here is that notice that the Sheikh will tell Siraj to stop. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you see the Sheikh there, he's saying, brother, stop. So he's trying to get Siraj to stop. So now let's see if Siraj listens to the Sheikh.
That's why he represents Jesus.
So you notice, Siraj ignored the Sheikh. You notice that. He asked him to stop, and Siraj didn't stop. And this is another thing you have to watch out for in Islam, is who Muslims see as being like the true Muslims, and who they see as not being so true. And as you saw when speaking to, I think, Saeed, he had a conversation with this comfortable Sheikh. And you can see the Sheikh is not really interested in any of this more, severe kind of jihad. Whereas, of course, and this is the other thing, of course, with Bob and Bloodfire insulting their prophet, is the Sheikh doing anything? No, Siraj had to come in from outside and take over the battling, whereas the Sheikh's been here for years. So where's he going around harassing Bob? No. Have you seen the Sheikh harassing Bloodfire? No. So now Siraj has to do it. So what I'm seeing is that it's as if because Siraj is the fighter, the Sheikh who's supposed to fight is not fighting. So Siraj is not really respecting the Sheikh, and you'll notice it.
Is Jesus the cuss one?
No. I can
See the Sheikh, and notice the Sheikh is not. He tried to stop him. He knows Siraj is ignoring him. And listen.
Do you want to talk to him? No, they're not.
No. I'm here to listen.
So you'll notice that the way that Siraj is not really fully with the Sheikh, he's more chasing Bob. And this is something you have to watch out for in Islam. And, you keep hearing Muslims complain about why are Islamic State, why do Islamic State keep killing Muslims? And there's a reason. And they will if you find someone from Islamic State, they'll give you a clear reason, and they'll even give you hadiths about why they're doing this to other people who, you know, or other Muslims. And then I'm just going to finish this off with something at the end of this video. You have to listen a bit carefully to hear it.
Hey, read in your Bible. Go, image. It's good. Time, read the Bible. Why you allow that? You're gross, pedophile.
Okay, listen carefully to what the guy is saying. Yes, you hear that? He insulted the Prophet. So you actually heard. So this, all of this applied. Whatever it says here. So remember, if Bloodfire was in a Muslim country, he'd be executed according to what they said. Because these are witnesses to that fact, so they would be the accusers against him. So if you listen carefully to what some other things which I said at the end.
He can't time for us. He's cold. Go on. Oh, time for you. It's all your Christians. Time for me. I'm not trying to stop you. Female's breast in the Bible. Why gender? Why is Jesus gender? Why is Jesus have female breast? Why is Jesus have female breast?
Take a break.
No, I will answer according to him.
No, you done. No, you done your job.
Yes.
So you hear what he said? He said you've done your job.
No, you done your job.
Yes.
No, you done your job.
Yes.
So notice that Muslim saying that you've done your job. So of course, you see, so this is all. So no, Siraaj will just keep going. He'll keep harassing, and these Muslims acknowledge that Siraaj is doing his job. So no, they're not going to stop him. He's going to carry on going because he has to do it. Because these are the rules of Islam. Because remember, in the Christian faith, it's love your enemies. And as this sheikh says, in Muslim faith is we look at them through a lens of hatred and resentment. So that's like I say, if you want to be a hater, become a Muslim. And if you want to show love, then become a Christian. Simple as that. Israelites will return to take down Islam.